Checkmate! The King and Rook checkmate, one of the most important checkmates you absolutely need to know. It only takes a few minutes to learn and you can use it for a lifetime. Stay tuned today, there's lots of fun chess ahead. Alright, let's learn the King and Rook checkmate, one of the most important checkmates to know, and it's super simple. Once you learn this, you'll know it for the rest of your life. I always like to start this lesson by saying, this is the ideal position. Have your kings facing one another, with your king blocking off your opponent's king from coming outside. Always remember two things. The ideal position is having our kings face to face and for it to be our turn. Our rook will always check on ranks, never on files. So we're never going to say check this way since our opponent's king has two different squares to go to. Instead, we are going to check on ranks. So we're going to go to the 8th rank here and cut off the 8th rank. This way it's checkmate. The king can't go outside because our king blocks him off. And the king cannot stay in the back rank because our rook blocks it off. But how did we get to this position to begin with? Let's go to our first position and see if we can figure this out. Now, in this spot, we're going to try to cut off our opponent's king, which is the first thing you want to do in any kind of basic endgame checkmate. So first thing is first, cut him off. Rook h2. Now my rook is cutting off the king all the way across the 2nd rank, which means the king can never go to the b2 square. Now the king can only dance around the rest of the board. Now he's happy with that because there are so many different squares he can go on, but we're going to take away those squares in just a second. Here black goes face to face with my king. Excellent. Thanks for going into the ideal position. And at any time you find the ideal position, you want to check with your rook across the rank. So the best move now would be check. Rook h3, checking you across the rank. The black king can't go downstairs because our king is blocking him off. So the king has to go upstairs since staying on the 3rd row is also not an option because of our rook. So the king has to go up. Now he's going up to the 4th rank or 4th row if that's easier for you. Here we're going to follow him with our king. Our rook is doing its job. You don't need to move him again. Saying check would not work. The king would have too many options and could go upstairs or downstairs. We want to force him upstairs. So bring your king face to face. Now it's black to play, and the way I always like to teach this is, think of the black king here, or if you're playing for black, the white king, as a hungry hippo, without a brain and a big belly. And the hungry hippo wants to taste the delicious snack. And the delicious snack here is the rook. So he wants to come after this delicious snack or lunch. So the king goes after him and says, give me a bite. Now it's our turn. This hungry hippo has a gigantic belly, but no brain. So he's not going to be thinking very intelligently. He'll follow wherever your rook goes. So because of this, I know I can trick him. I want the king to come back here to the e4 square. So I take my rook and I say, I'm so tasty. Don't you see how delicious I am? Follow me. And I go to the other side of the world. Now my opponent's king will follow me because he's a hungry hippo, so he'll chase me. I just got my ideal position. What am I supposed to do? That's right. Bring the rook up, give him a check, and because your king is face to face, we'll block off these squares, which means the black king has to go up. Excellent. Now we follow him again, and the hungry hippo decides to run away this time. He developed a bit of a brain. So he decides to run the other way. He doesn't want to follow you. So in this case, again, you can use your trick because this hungry hippo will chase your rook. You can bring your rook just one square over and say, hey, did you forget how tasty I was? Get over here. Come take a bite. And the king might come over, and if that happens, you can check him and force him upstairs. Now, let's say that doesn't happen, and instead you move the rook over, but the king runs away from you and says, I'm out of here. Well, if the king runs away from you, anytime you're in a king diagonal in this way, just follow your opponent. Follow them. And when you do that, your opponent will be walking toward the edge of the board. And at that point, they won't have any more choice. For example, your opponent's king runs, you follow, runs, you follow. And now your opponent has no choice. They must go either to this square here, that square there, or this square here. It has no choice left. It's got to go up. If it goes to, like, say, b6, for example, you're again face to face. So you can force him up by bringing your rook, and remember, always checking across, never up. So we say check. The king again must move. So we take our king and follow our opponent. Now our opponent runs toward us again. Do you think you can figure out what to do here? So, did you find the best move for white here? If you said take the king, go face to face, so you're in the ideal position and you can say check, forcing the king back, you are incorrect. Unfortunately, this doesn't work. Although you're in the ideal position face to face with one space in the middle and you want to take the rook up and say check, it isn't your turn. So your opponent can say, we're not face to face, and you can say, yeah, we are. But then black will say, no, we're not. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. And of course, this ends up as a draw because you're repeating the same move over and over and over again. That's 3-move repetition. So what else could you have done instead of going over and trying to force being face to face? Well, the best way to do this is, remember, your rook is like a tasty snack, and you can use that to trick your opponent to moving face to face with your king. So here, the best move is take the rook, go to the other side of the world. Now, if your opponent follows you, you'll be face to face, and it's your turn. So now you bring your rook up and say check, attacking the black king, forcing the king up. Now the king has to go up. When your opponent's king is attacking you here, run to the other side of the world again. If your opponent comes chasing after you, you have two options. You can either go up here face to face and make your decision after, or go up to e5 and hope your opponent will follow you. Now it's up to you, and in this case, usually I like to go face to face and make my decision after. Whatever my opponent does now, I know what to do because I have an easy system. My rook is my snack. My opponent's king is the hungry hippo. He doesn't have quite the big brain, but he has a big belly, so he'll just chase after me. So now if the king comes chasing after my rook, what do? I want the king to come back face to face, remember? So take the rook, go to the other side of the world again. Now, if he comes face to face, now you can check him one more time, force him back, and now it's the last rank. What should we do? He's attacking us again. Run to the other side of the world. And when your opponent comes chasing after you, come face to face. Now here, black does not continue this way. Instead, he decides to run the other way. Again, you can't force it. You can't come face to face first. You have to let your opponent walk over to you. And the easiest way I do this is grab my rook and say, hey, I'm so tasty. Did you forget about me? And make just one rook move over to b7 here. Now, whatever your opponent does, he's trapped. For example, if your opponent now goes to f8, checkmate. Rook goes down, mate. And if your opponent doesn't do that and say goes to h8, you make one more move, and then your opponent must go over, and again, you bring up your rook and say checkmate. It's so easy. Now I'm going to set up a position where I play against the computer, and you can see I'm going to put the computer on 3200 rated. So this is like the strongest being ever, but I'm still going to easily win because it's a simple formula. And once you follow it, you'll win every time no matter who you're playing. Let's watch. All right, now it's time to test our new technique against a 3200 rated computer. Do you think we can do it? Of course we can, because it doesn't matter what our opponent's rated. What we're going to do is use our basic idea and technique and keep driving the king back and back and back and back and checkmate him on the back rank. So follow along, see if you get some of the answers. Hopefully you get most of them, if not all of them. Here we go. I'm going to start off by moving my rook to h2. Let's see what he does. Great, he moved back for me. First move, I cut off my opponent's king, so he can't go below the second rank. So now my opponent moved up. So I'm going to take my rook and go to h3. I've cut off another rank. Now he's chasing after me. So here I have a couple of moves. I can go to d2 or to e2. Both are very good. Normally I like going to e2 so I can get face to face and then check him and force him up. But going either one is good. Let's go to d2 in this case to follow with the same idea. Here my opponent moves the king to e4. I take my rook now and I go to the other side of the world, all the way here. You see, am I tasty? Do you want to take a bite out of me? Come here. Now if he comes and takes a bite out of me, or at least he tries to, I can bring my rook up and say check because we're in the face-to-face ideal position and it's my turn. Here I'm going to take my king and I'm going to go 1 over and become face-to-face again. Now in this case, if I bring my rook just 1 over to try to get him to come over here and then I say check, it won't work, since my opponent will be able to capture me. See, if I go here and then he goes here and I go up, he's going to take me. So what I'm going to do is make a little bit of room between my king and my rook. So I'm going to just walk over just 1 square. Now I can get back on track. And in this position, I'm going to take my rook, go to b4, and waste 1 turn. And try to convince him to come back here to the d5 square. That way we'll be face to face, ideal position. Rook goes up, check, king must go upstairs again. Let's see if he does that. I'm not sure. Oh, he went upstairs, even easier. So now that he went upstairs, I just take another rank. Thank you very much. Oh, again you go upstairs. Thank you very much. Okay, now that he's running away from me like a chicken, I'm going to follow him with my king. Okay, now he's gone upstairs again. So, take another rank. Perfect. He's attacking me. Anytime you get attacked, move the rook to the other side of the world. It makes it really easy because you're very fast and your opponent's king is very slow. So now just move up your king, come to the ideal position, but it's not because it was his turn, so he just kind of ran away from me. I want him to come back here. How do I do it? Come back here. I'm so tasty. Don't you remember how tasty I am? Get to g7. If your opponent's king came here, it would have been checkmate. Now he ran away. We're in this little diagonal. Remember, when you're in this king diagonal, anytime you see this, then just follow along. And then follow along. And then now you see we're still in that diagonal. Follow along. That way your opponent's going to be forced to go to a square like b8 in this case. And then we get to go to g8 and say checkmate. That's it. It's super easy, lots of fun, and something you can use for the rest of your lives. So if you liked today's video, do me a big favor, hit the like and subscribe button, share with your friends and family. It's always wonderful to share knowledge. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I can't wait to see you again next week, so hopefully you join us again. Please leave us a little comment. Tell me how you felt about this video. I hope you enjoyed and learned. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye, everyone. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching today's video. If you liked the video, please share with your friends and family, and please remember to hit that like and subscribe button as it really helps the channel. Until next time, please remember to practice and have fun.